Okay, so Brother Saquan, please tell me something on how you're going to deal with the youth in this 36th district here.
Well, the way I'm going out and I'm addressing actually getting them to come out is using the internet to the utmost. A lot of the times, there's some historic methodology, how we go out and get voters. But the truth is that if you're going to go against Al Van, the only way to actually go against an incumbent who's been there for so long is to bring out different voters. Maybe even if you would get a chance to take 15% away from his base, I mean, that's still going to be a substantial amount that you have to make up. So the fact that you have to use the internet, that you have to capitalize on just being able to relate to certain people. If they're not used to someone coming up to them asking them if they want to vote, then they'll never vote.
Okay, but now we got a lot of crime out here too. There's been a great deal of shootings out in Brooklyn as a whole, and you know the crime factor that affects our community. How are you going to make changes for that?
Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to try to sort of address the school environment. Right now, it's being run like a police state. There's a tremendous amount of security guards. There was a study showing that they have more security guards in school than they have police officers in Washington, D.C. So we have to make sure that my focus is education, because that's what my undergraduate degree was in. Was a certified New York City public school teacher. So I want to make sure that we address a more welcoming and comforting atmosphere in school, so that once these kids are not going from home to school and then back where the police are harassing them, so when they go to school, now you have the security guards, they're going through metal detectors. It creates a mentality of just incarceration that has to be just sort of defeated in order for us to actually reach out to them.
Okay, not to interject, but I want you to realize something. After I throw it to you, then it's important if y'all can jump in and say at any time, but after I get to Mr. Hines, of course. But now what I'm going to say is, okay, we have this problem, and the older people are afraid, and I've talked to previous politicians about it before. Our older people are afraid, and in our community, we don't talk about it. They're afraid of them young boys with their pants hanging down. Let's not act like they're not.
It's true.
We get on shows and we get up here and we act like we can't air our dirty laundry. Let's be real. On the spot. We gonna be real now. The old people are scared. These little kids running around with their pants hanging down, gang colors hanging out their sides. This reflects in all of our community. Brother Hines. We know we got a school problem in school, the youth, and the crime, or it's all one. But now, what are we gonna do here, brother?
I think the root of the problem is that there's a disconnect between the older generation and the younger generation, and I don't think that there really is any effort being made to join those two communities. You go to a community board, and it's a majority older crowd. You go to and they're having the same complaints that you're voicing, and I think what you need to do is to find some way to bring the two together. There's that fear. And there is a lack of communication between the parties.
But all of y'all represent that age group that can do it. I'm in that great age group, even though I'm a little older than you dudes. But I'm in that age group, but I have a little more dynamics to it because I work on Rikers Island. So I represent that group where we're in the middle. That unfortunately, it's sad to say that our community, the young, idolize the prison system. So with you young brothers up here, it's like bridging the gap. But I'm going to take it back to you again, brother. We know what we need to do, but as a candidate, what can you do?
You have to include the young people within the campaigns. And what you find historically, especially with older elected officials, they have their older crowd that they're going to target. And they always do that. They have what we call the super prime voters. And they're not going to reach out to these young people. They're not going to mail to them. They're not going to call them. They're not going to speak to them. You're not going to see them doing anything on the campaigns. If you're not going to empower them and show them that they can help make change, then they're going to begin to believe that they are part of the problem, or they're not going to see themselves as part of the solution. So, personally, in my own campaign, I am targeting the younger voters. One of my biggest themes is you help make history before, help make history again. We're going to, I personally have no qualms about putting young people in the highest levels of my leadership. I think as a young person, I always wanted to be given that role to say I can participate, I can give a voice to something, not just run out there and give out leaflets and flyers, but give these young people a position where when they go to apply for college or go to apply for a job, they have a position there that shows a level of importance to them.
To piggyback on what he just said, I have high school interns on my campaign.
Okay.
14, 15 years of age, showing great leadership skills. I have college students. I reached out to the Columbia BSL, the Black Student Organization. I reached out to the frats and the college kids because, especially with the Columbia University students, because they sit there, they go to school there for 4 years, and they get isolated at Columbia. And I'm like, look, if you're going to be in Harlem, be in Harlem. Be a part of Harlem. And I'm really seeing a new flavor to my, a new sense of energy in my campaign. Because they're out there in the streets. They're out there walking on Saturday. This Saturday, I'm doing a big canvas.
But I got something. I got a problem. I got a problem, and I'm gonna throw it, and we're gonna come up on a break soon. But part of my problem is we're right here in the heart of Brooklyn. We're on No Street in Fulton here. This is where the studio is at. So come out here and see us. There's a bunch of young kids up and down here, and I'm not saying kids because they're 25, pants hanging down and everything else. How do we engage these kids, get them off these streets? Peer pressure and the media and what we see on TV, this is all a problem. How do we get them off the streets and make it cool to get in politics? Now, before you answer that question, what you think about it, but we're going to be right back and on the spot. We got to pay some bills, and afterwards we're going to lead off with this, and feel free to jump in if you want to.